Welcome to another episode of Electrotechnology on the job. And today, I'm actually not doing a job at all. What I am going to do is talk about the tools that I use when I do my electrical work. So stick around and find out what tools I use. As I've mentioned in other videos, I no longer work full-time as an electrician. My full-time job is a teacher, and this is my side gig. Now, one of the greatest things about our trade, being electrical, is that you don't need a lot of equipment to run your own business on the side. If I was running full-time, then yes, you would have your van, you'd have all sorts of equipment and conduit and ladders and stuff. But if you're just doing it on the side, you're just doing small jobs, then a lot of that stuff you don't really need, at least not all the time. So I still have the ladders, I still have the conduit, and I have everything else, but I don't actually take that with me on most jobs. So when I do go out on jobs, most of the time it might be just installing some lights or installing some GPOs, some power outlets, or just small stuff like that. I don't do huge amounts of big jobs. So that means, because of our trade and the way it works, I can condense everything I need down into really these three boxes. Now, I have in another video where I've talked about tool bags and tool pouches and tool belts, those sorts of things. And I mentioned in that video that I actually don't use either of those anymore. This is what I use. And there's a reason for this, because if I'm working only on small jobs, then I want to maximize the tools that I can carry and making it more efficient for me. And this works for me. It may not work for you, but it definitely does work for me. This is my battery drill case, and I'm going to go through and show you what's inside here. It's not just my drill. I carry a bunch of other stuff in here as well. This is my screw box. Electricians always have screw boxes, but again, I've got a bunch of different stuff in here which I'm going to go through. And then over on this side is my, I guess I'd call it an extension box. I have a whole bunch of other tools that I use that I don't take with me all the time. Depending on the job I'm doing, this is the box that I might extend out. So for example, I have this drill here. This is my rotary drill, battery operated of course. And if I know I'm going to be somewhere where I'm going to be drilling into concrete, this is a drill I will take. Otherwise, I'll leave it at home. I don't need it. So this is how I operate. 3 essential cases or boxes. That's all I need. And for the most part, it's only 2. So I don't have to carry a tool bag. I don't have to carry tool belts. I find those very cumbersome. I just take these 2 boxes, I set them up somewhere on the site, and all of my stuff goes from here into my pockets, what I need while I'm doing the work. So let's have a look. We'll start with this box here. So if I open it up, there we go. It's got a battery drill in it, but it's got a few other things. So let's have a look at what's here. So in this box, obviously I have my battery drill. At the moment, it has a Phillips head bit in the drill section itself. That's the bit that I use most of the time. If I'm not drilling holes, I'm using that to screw in screws, etc. And it's a standard battery drill, hammer function, you know, the usual sorts of stuff. But I also have in the box here, along with the spare battery, I also have my tape measure that fits quite well in here, because realistically, if I'm going to be drilling something, I'm going to need to be measuring something as well. So tape measure comes in really handy, obviously. I also keep my level in here because it fits nicely in here. So my level, I have 2 pairs of safety glasses. The reason I have 2 pairs of safety glasses is because obviously if I break one, you know, I need another one. But potentially I could be working with somebody else and maybe they need a pair of safety glasses while we're drilling or something. So I always keep 2. I have my various different hole saws in here as well, so different size hole saws, so I know depending on the sorts of holes I need to drill, I have those in there. I also keep in here this is my plasterboard knife, plasterboard saw I should say. It extends out, there it is there. So if I've got to cut holes in plasterboard, I can use that one, and it folds up, which is really handy because that way I can't come in contact with the blade when I'm reaching around for it, so I don't hurt myself. And obviously I have various different drills, my larger drills in the back here as well. So anything that's not small but, you know, longer drills, it sits up here in the back. And I also keep all of my drills for my rotary drill in here as well, because it's the same brand, use the same batteries. If I'm going to be on a job using my rotary drill, more than likely I'm going to have this with me anyway. So I just keep everything in here. Keep things simple. And lastly in this box, I have this. This is a mini set of bolt cutters. Believe it or not, this is very, very handy to have, especially if you need to put some screws into somewhere and maybe your screws are too long or whatever. This will cut it down really easily and super, super handy. I've had a pair of mini bolt cutters for many, many years, and you'd be surprised how often these come in to use when you have to cut something down that maybe your pliers can't do. Okay, if I open the top section of my battery drill case, in here I have some more stuff. I have obviously earplugs. If I'm drilling in somewhere into concrete or it's a closed room, I don't want to damage my ear, so earplugs. I have this, a piece of string with a nut on the end of it. What would I need that for, you wonder? Well, this is what I use if I've got to try and drop some cables down through a wall from maybe up in the roof. I can use this just as like a plumb bob. Down it goes. So it's very, very handy to have. I have pens and pencils. I have more drill bits, so spade bits, etc. Lots more drill bits, different types of drill bits here. Again, hole saws, small drill bits, long drill bits, Phillips head drill bits, bits to fit on different sockets, all sorts of various things, and they all sit in the top part of my case. So that's the battery drill box. This box here is the one I take with me on all of my jobs, regardless of what job I go onto. This is the box that comes with me. This is my screw box. It has not just screws, it has all my hand tools in it as well. So in the screw box, this is what I have. I have different types of screws, obviously, and different lengths. So these are pan head screws. I have some other screws which I find rather handy depending on what I'm doing. These particular screws just the right size to fit in power outlets, GPOs, etc. If I've got to screw into timber or something that maybe there's no brackets for me to use, these actually fit really well. So I've got those screws. I have a few nuts and bolts if I've got to put some circuit equipment onto circuit boards, distribution boards, etc. These are the sorts of things I would use, nuts and bolts. I have, most importantly, I have my spiders. I've talked about these in other videos, in the hollow wall video, I think it was. Anyway, these are super, super handy. I use these with some longer screws. I put the screw into them. They go through the plasterboard, and what happens then is they just hold onto the plasterboard, which is fantastic for light stuff, not heavy stuff, but light stuff, and so that's very, very handy to have. Again, I just have various different types of screws here. I have some concrete anchors that I can put in. Down the front, I have my connectors, single screw, double screw connectors for connecting cable. Raw plugs, so again for concrete or bricks. So that's basically most of my screws that I have. I have at the top here, I have some miscellaneous stuff. So I always carry a couple of C brackets with me just in case I need them. Maybe I'm doing a job and I have to take something apart and I find out that there's no brackets. I've always got a couple of spare brackets. I also have various odds and ends, odd screws and stuff that I pick up on the job as I'm doing things, because you never know when you might need an odd screw to fit into maybe a broken junction box that's in concrete or something like that. You never know. Obviously I have tape, different rolls of tape I keep in here. Super glue, believe it or not, super glue is pretty important stuff. This particular super glue, hopefully you can see that, this glues, or dries I should say, in about 30 seconds. So awesome stuff. I have, again, some plumbing tape. Important for us to have plumbing tape as electricians. You'd be surprised how often we might have to work with, take some taps off or something to get around things, who knows. Plumbing tape's important, so I keep some of that stuff in there as well. I also have a set way all this goes in, so when I'm taking things out like this, a bit awkward trying to get everything to line back up again, the way I'm used to having it. That's just not going in, is it? There we go. Down the front, I have this tool here. This is a punch tool. This is for doing data cabling. So if I've got to use data cabling, this is what I use it for. I have my volt stick, pretty important. Retractable knife, pretty important. And then I have a little mini torch. And again, in this box, I have some pens and pencils and some small screwdrivers as well. Okay, for if I have to mark things out. And over on this section, I have my hand tools. So the tools I use most often are obviously screwdrivers and pliers. So I have those in there. I have my side cutters and my long nose pliers. And obviously my side cutters are there as well. So these are the most common hand tools, which means that I can basically get away with using this box for 90% of my work, because these are the most common things I'm going to use, along with my battery drill, obviously. And as I mentioned before, obviously I have my rotary drill, which I take with me if I'm drilling into concrete. Let's put that over there. And this is my extension box. And in here, again, I have extra tools that don't fit into this main box here that I might need to use on a job. And again, whenever I do any job, I always suss it out first, figure out what I'm going to need so I know that I take the right equipment with me. And that's why it keeps everything to a minimum. Not much space. So inside this box, let's have a look. So in this box, this is where I keep my various tools that I need if I'm doing something a little bit different. So, I have a square, combination square. This is a canister of liquid petroleum gas safety refiller. There you go, that's what it's called. Basically, this is just my soldering iron, my gas soldering iron. I keep my multimeter in here. Most of the time I use my volt stick, but there will be times when volt sticks aren't reliable, so multimeter is what you want, so I use that. In here I have sockets, my soldering iron, obviously. I have various other tools. This is tin snips to cut metal. I have in here cable ties. I have multi-grips, a couple of other spanners, data tool again. So these are all the kinds of tools that I wouldn't need every single day on a job. Allen keys. They're sort of tools that specific jobs might require. I also keep, again, in here some other stuff. So I might have some saddles. Occasionally I might need the odd 1 or 2 saddles rather than going out and buying an entire box. Some crimp lugs, same thing. My soldering equipment, so I have solder and stuff in there. And again, just some odds and ends in this box. I've got a couple of other stuff in here as well, odds and ends, just in case I come across the odd job which needs something a little bit different, and that's also here as well. So as you can see, using this system of my 3 boxes makes my life much, much easier and much, much more organized. So I know that any given job, I know what box I can take out to the job and get the job done correctly. I'm not having to carry around an entire bag full of tools and then rummaging trying to find that one tool that is always going to be at the bottom of your bag. I'm not having to carry a whole heap of stuff and drag it around with me. I simply know that yes, this is what I need depending on the job I'm on. And one of the things I really appreciate about having my battery drill in its own box is that there's space for other tools. So if I'm going to have this box anyway with my battery drill in it, I might as well put other tools in it. So again, it just becomes a toolbox really. You could use a normal toolbox if you wanted to, but this works well for me, and they're quite easily stackable, so they take up less space. And if you are working part-time, you're not using, not running a van, for example, then you just want to throw this in the boot of your car and go and do a job. Very, very easy. And they're all protected, they're not going to get knocked around, and they're not going to get damaged. So this is really how I run my business at the moment, I suppose, as a part-time electrician, no longer a full-time electrician. So anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope you've learned something from this video. And if so, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time when I'm out on the job with Electrotechnology.